let's dive in. All right, I'm going to share my screen. I got a little PowerPoint for us.
Oh,
And
fancy.
I know, right? We are totally fancy here. Um, so you can do this again later. Okay, let's go. All right. Okay. I'm so excited that you're here for Happy Juice Happy Hour. Like I said, we are just going to walk through all the details of mixing up your Happy Juice, kind of what's in it, why it works, why you'd want to take it. And then we do have some promos that are going on right now. So I want to talk about that with you as well. And like I said, my goal for you is that at the end of this, you're going to know exactly how to use it and then how to really get the most out of it because it is just as simple as, mixing the products and drinking it. But that said, there's some kind of additional nuances that you might play around with to really get the best results in your personal best results for your lifestyle and for the things that you have going on. And then I also hope you're going to walk away with some tools to live out a summer of happy just today and beyond today. So we'll talk a little bit about that with kind of this fun little pick your journey activity that I've got for us at the end of this. So like I said, stick around to the end. We'll talk about the promos that we have going on and some limited edition things that are going on throughout the end of this month. So you already know me a little bit. You already know a lot about me, but this is just a little bit more of my background because we do know each other through social media and you've seen what I share in that space. But again, my name is Brandy Zuger and I am a full-time working mom. So I do the full-time career thing. But I've also always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So I've made like leather cuffs and sold them. I've done photography. I did, Senegence and multi-level marketing, and then have since switched into the wellness space. And I'm a little bit crunchy. I don't like to say I'm like a full, we eat Cheetos occasionally in our house and, I like a good s'more and things like that. So I'm not like a totally clean living person, but I'm definitely crunchy and I'm definitely learning and even bringing my husband Joe along in this journey with like how can we show up better, feel better, simplify our lives in a lot of ways, and kind of get rid of a bunch of the unnecessary crap that we don't need. I'm an Enneagram 9, which if you're an Enneagram or you know your Enneagram, you'll have to drop it in the chat for me because I would love to know if you are. An Enneagram 9, we're like the kumbaya peacekeepers, right? Like we want to get everybody in a circle, hold hands, make sure everybody feels comfortable. I always kind of say I'm a recovering people pleaser. I used to really kind of bend over backwards and just like smile and nod based on what everybody else wanted to do. But I've since learned some good boundaries and shifted there. I'm a little bit of a science nerd. I'm rural raised, so I have an agriculture and farming background. And then let's be honest, I'm quirky and I have owned that badge of honor. It's taken a long time in my life, but I like to have fun and I like to smile and I'm all about living a happy and joyful life. So a little bit about my story, and you've probably heard me share this a little bit before because I've talked about this story before on social media, but I feel like kind of what was and has been my story, it's maybe mine, but a lot of women I've come to find really can relate in the space of what I kind of went through to get to this space of simplified living and this health and wellness space. And really, the light bulb for me happened in 2020 and into 2021 when like the world went upside down, right? It was a crazy time and there was just a ton of uncertainty. Everything felt a little shaky. And really, what I had known in my life up until that point and kind of what my status quo of what we were doing with our lives and how we were caring for myself and the nutrition I was doing, I started to question a lot of things, right? Like the world kind of started turning upside down. And all of a sudden, I started to kind of pull back and take this broad worldview and start to ask some questions. And they kind of started with what was going on in the world. And then it started came around to like, well, how am I feeling? How am I showing up? And it really did just lead me down this health journey. And I'm someone that I've really always considered myself someone that, I feel happy and I feel good and I don't have a lot of health issues. But I noticed in 2020 that things started to really feel overwhelming, and I got a little anxious, and it just all of a sudden I started to note that, like, you know what? Some of the cycle that I was going through, with some procrastination cycle and with some diet cycles, and just kind of how I was showing up in general, I was like, wait, I want to stop. I don't want to do this anymore. And especially as health and wellness really was the topic of conversation, right? In 2020 and 2021 and into 2022, it really made me realize that without health, what else? What else is there? Um, and so I really quickly just want to touch on this kind of, I'm going to call it the cycle of despair. That sounds probably a little bit dramatic, but for anyone that has experienced this cycle, and we'll go through it just briefly, you're going to know what I'm talking about, and it can be really frustrating. You could maybe also call this cycle of despair, the wagon that you keep referring to that you're falling off, and it can go in a lot of different areas. So for me specifically, I kind of was on the cycle of despair in two different areas, and that was kind of in my work focus and productivity space. I was constantly like, why can't I just do the things and do what I need to do? And it just was this never ending cycle. And then for me, it was also really in the diet space. And I was a child of the 90s and 2000s when, sticks thin was the thing, not only just for your eyebrows, but for your body shape. And so I had a lot of really unhealthy habits that kept me on this cycle of despair in those spaces. For some people, it might be the cycle of despair of like trying to get enough sleep, trying to eat the foods that you want to eat. A lot of people are here in the diet space. It might be in your relationships. But really what it looks like is, right, we kind of start at that trigger, right? There's something in our life that comes along and frustrates us, gives us roadblocks, stresses us out, kind of triggers us into this like, ugh, and now we need to relieve that. And oftentimes we go somewhere to go for temporary relief. It can be things like a drink. I just need to unwind and go shopping for a while. You sit down for Netflix at the end of the day and, you're scrolling, or you're just going for your favorite, guilty pleasure of choice, be it, cookies or cake or chips or whatever. But then you find yourself in this position where you were just going to sit down to unwind and scroll on your phone. And then it was an hour later. Or you were going to go have a drink with a friend and all of a sudden you've had two bottles, or, whatever it kind of moves into, that all of a sudden you kind of cross that imaginary boundary that you had for yourself and you overdid it, which leads to then shame and guilt. So you're frustrated. You're like, I wasn't going to do that. Why do I always do this? You feel that guilt and shame. So then you're going to make this massive change. But then a trigger comes along again, as it does, because as I always say, like life is going to life. And this cycle starts all over again. And it was really kind of in, like I said, 2021 that I started to realize like, hey, I would like to exit this stage. So let's then dive into, wow, that brings us to Happy Juice. So I wanted to give us all a little background, kind of who I am and what I'm about before we talk about like why this can be really helpful for you if you're kind of experiencing the same sort of thing. So you've got some Happy Juice samples that you're going to be getting in the mail, right? Those came out to your door. You're going to be receiving them. You're going to have all the tools to know how to drink it, and it's delicious and all those things. But we kind of also need to just talk about briefly, like what is happy. One of the things is it's really subjective well-being. And what I mean by that is happy can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For instance, I have a picture on here. I'm a mountain person. Many people are beach people. I am happiest up a mountain. Like hike me up a mountain and I am a happy lady. I can find happiness on a beach. Are you a mountain lady?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes. So like mountains over beaches every day, which I will say, Mallory, not everybody feels that way. Most people
No.
are beach people.
Yes.
So
I
it's
understand.
yes. Same. That is my issue. Is like once you get it on you, it's everywhere. Like it's everywhere. It's in everything. Yes.
Yep.
I relate with that. So like it's subjective, right? So, other people might decide that the beach is the spot for them. We are mountain people. But it's oftentimes kind of classified as like how happy you are with your life, or how positive or negative emotions are impacting you, or how you tend to feel those. And for me, and I think Mallory, this is probably something you can really relate with a lot too, is it really is for me showing up for myself, for my family with joy, gratitude, and love, right? Being able to do what I say I'm going to do and do it with the grace and gratitude and joy. And then nourishing my body, my mind, and my soul, so that I really can grow into my best self, right? That I'm not just coasting along. I'm not just letting life throw me where it's going to, that I'm in the driver's seat, and really trying to impact, those around me and my family with how I can do that. So, gotta imagine you feel a similar way about it. Okay, so this brings us to Happy Juice. There's really three products in Happy Juice. You received, or will be receiving, I should say, two in the mail. So Edge and Energy are the two products. Mentobiotics comes in a can, so it just wasn't very practical to scoop that into like Ziploc baggies and mail it out to you. We are all desperately asking for a travel size packet of Mentobiotics as well, because it's just so easy to package. But you receive the two products that really give it taste, essentially. So Edge, you've got the grape flavor, although it does come in watermelon. This is going to help get your dopamine going. And so we kind of look at these three products, and what makes this a little different, well, I should say a lot different than a coffee or a Red Bull or even just a probiotic, right? Is we're looking at your gut health, but we're looking at it as a coordinated neurotransmitter effort. So essentially, what does your gut need, right? What bacteria needs to be in your gut microbiome to signal very specifically for improved neurotransmitter communication? So essentially, the way anybody feels in any given moment has to do with the communication that's happening in their body, right? They get bad news from work. I always the like worst work phone call ever is like, "Hey, can you come to my office?" Right? Your boss or your manager. I don't think I've ever had somebody say that and not instantly gone straight to like dread, like, "Oh no." Like, what is this about? And it's not always that it's a bad thing, right? But all of a sudden your neurotransmitters, right? The communication, you have that instantaneous experience of dread. And now there's this communication channel going on in your body, unreally beknownst to you, that's starting to send signals. And it's starting to send it based on history and experience. And depending on the quality of your gut, it might lead down a really slippery, stressful slope. These products are going to populate your gut microbiome to actually get rid of those nasty communicators in your gut and replace it with the good communication that we want. And so Edge helps communicate for dopamine, which is going to help with your motivation and drive. Energy then helps with norepinephrine and like neuron activation. So it's going to help not just with like a physical energy, but an actual mental energy. And then the mentobiotics is going to help with serotonin and GABA. So it's going to improve your mood, improve your calmness, what we call stress resiliency. And so when you mix them all up together, you're going to improve that subjective well-being, right? So you're going to actually feel the benefits of like your body sending essentially new messages throughout your body, which just blows my mind it's not just like, yay, this is a yummy, good for your tummy situation. It's literally changing how your body communicates, which is kind of cool. So put this slide in here because I think it's going to feel different for everybody, right? So thinking about subjective wellness, everybody's going to have a little bit of a different experience. But a lot of times what I hear from customers is that it means they're going to be able to handle things better, or the things that are going on just aren't as stressful. That feeling that you're both relaxed and alert. It's oftentimes what like athletes would refer to being as in the zone. Like if you've ever had an in the zone moment, or where you're just in flow, where you're like, oh my gosh, like I was just doing what I needed to do and it felt really good. This is going to help create that, where you're just relaxed and alert. Decrease irritability and improve mood state. And then, like I said, all day mental and physical energy without negatively impacting your sleep, which is really cool because if you've ever drank a coffee into the afternoon, depending on how often you do that, maybe coffee in the afternoon doesn't impact you so you think. But it really is. It's revving up some of those internal systems to impact your sleep quality. Okay, so really quickly, so you know what to do when your packet arrives in the mail. Um, it's it's ridiculously simple. I mean, it really couldn't be any more simple. You're essentially gonna take your edge, you're gonna take your energy. I like it in about 16 ounces of water, but you can go up to 20 ounces of water. You can do 10 or 12 ounces of water. You're just gonna pour them in and you're gonna mix it up. And it's as easy as that. Like I said, we do have watermelon or grape. And then I'm using the dragon fruit, which is what you received, but there's also a pomegranate lime. So there's a couple different mixes that you can play with. The pomegranate lime has caffeine and sugar. The dragon fruit has caffeine, but is sugar free. The caffeine is matcha. So there's a very small amount of matcha in it, which matcha is a much more gentle caffeine. It's not quite as harsh as like a coffee bean or taurine or something like that. And then grape edge is also sugar free. So the dragon fruit and grape edge is if you want a fully sugar free option. And then the pomegranate lime and watermelon has sugar in it. And then if you had the mentibiotics for the happy juice, you just mix that in as well. This doesn't really have a flavor. I would say if I had to say any flavor, it's got a little bit of like an earthy flavor if you drink it by itself. But if you're drinking it with these two mixed together, you're not going to taste it whatsoever at all. I like to top mine off with ice. I'm not going to go grab my ice right now, but top it off with ice. You're good to go. Here is the nuance of mixology that you can think about, because it really is kind of looking at and playing with when taking your happy juice is going to give you the most benefit based on your life. I have some people that are early morning workout folks that they like to drink this as like their morning pre-workout. So they'll mix it, at 4:30 in the morning, and they'll take it before they do their morning workout. And then that's kind of what takes them through the day. I personally like to have my breakfast, and then I usually have mine around like 9 or 10. So kind of a mid-morning is when I like to take mine. That's also kind of in alignment with when I usually start my workday. I start usually with going through my emails. It's kind of simple. It doesn't require a lot of thinking. So I usually try to take mine when it's like, okay, I'm getting into work, right? Maybe I need to start doing some spreadsheets, or I'm working on some sort of event format or something like that. So I like to kind of take mine around when like, ooh, I have to do a thing that's hard. I'm going to drink this while I'm doing the hard thing to elevate my mental focus and motivation. I always recommend take it before noon, because that's when you're going to get the most benefit. But if you need to take an additional serving, which you would take just of the edge and energy, the two things that you're receiving in the mail, you wouldn't take an additional scoop of the mentibiotics. Take an additional serving. So, say you decide you want to take it as a pre-workout in the morning at 5 a.m. And maybe you guys are getting ready to go on vacation and you've got a big flight or trip ahead of you, and you're packing and doing some last minute things and like keeping baby occupied and all of the things. And you at 2 o'clock, you're like, I'm feeling a little stressed. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I've got a lot to do. Go ahead and just mix up an additional serving. And sometimes it requires a little bit of a mental shift, because oftentimes we kind of have this like lingering voice in the back of our head that says like, don't drink too much coffee. You don't want to have a lot of soda. You don't want to have too much, right? There's kind of this lingering voice that's like, ooh, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overdose. But the thing with this is it truly is a neurotransmitter gut communication. And really all we're doing is starting to listen to your body, that your body is telling you, right? Like, hey, I'm waving the red flag. I feel really stressed right now. This is one of the toolkits in your toolbox to help with that. Other tools could be like, lay down and do some box breathing or something like that, right? Like you're feeling stressed, you can lay down and do some box breathing. Or maybe you're having a major dip in your energy. Maybe you need to grab some protein. But again, this is another great tool in your toolkit to say like, okay, my mental fatigue is starting to drain me. I don't feel like I'm up for this anymore. Just reach for the tools in your toolkit. And you can take upwards of 3 servings. of energy and edge in a day. And I will say, when I first started the products, again, it was like an overwhelming 2020 and 2021. I took 3 servings really consistently for my first couple months. So if your body needs additional tools, reach for those additional tools. Okay, so we're about to the end of this. I wanted to share just a couple fun, really great testimonials that we've had from people. The one about it being my joyful juice is still one of my favorites. And that her husband even kind of recognized, like, holy cow, like, turns out you aren't just a grouchy old lady. Like, you just, life was overwhelming, right? There's stress and there's burnout. And as mothers, I think we know that the most, right? We wear so many hats, and just the world as it is in America, asks a lot of mothers. America culture, it asks a lot of mothers. And we kind of hold ourselves to a really high standard, and we have a lot of guilt and shame about how we're feeling and how we're performing. And again, this is just a really cool tool to have in your toolkit. That you can kind of look at it. I also like to point out in the top, my friend that started it and said, girl, post my little dose adjustment. I feel freaking bomb. That's another really important part of any supplementation routine is you need to play with it for a little bit and listen to your body when you take it. That's how you're going to get the most out of it is, playing with it a little bit. So don't feel like, well, Brandy drinks hers at 9 a.m. So I too shall drink mine at 9 a.m. so I can feel like Brandy. Well, you might have a different lifestyle, you might have a different schedule, and it might just require a little bit of a change. So with that, really quick, I have a fun little pick your own wellness adventure. So drop in the chat either a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4 based on kind of one of the things that you're most excited about to start experiencing when you take your happy juice. And here's what I'm going to do. I then am going to send you a little card that kind of has a few more tips in that space for ways that you can elevate that experience.
We don't have our keyboard on because she took it. So
you tell me. You tell me and I'll write it down.
Well, she's saying master her mood.
Mood.
She's a 3 right now.
Yes. Okay. Let's do it.
But me, I'm a 2. I'm more of a 2.
Okay. That's where I was when I started. I was like, why can't I do the things I say I want to do? And why is this so hard? And why is it overwhelming? Okay. So I will email you a fun little thing that has some more ideas for supercharging your focus and productivity. Okay. And with that, Mallory, the last little bit we have is, if you are and have been kind of looking at getting started on Happy Juice, or you want to try it, or you're kind of thinking that it's something that you would want to add into your toolkit, we do have a limited edition promo that's going on through the 30th. Obviously, these products are available at any time. Right now, we have a promo where you get a cute little Happy Juice glass with it, which, as you can see, mine has not arrived yet. I went out and checked the mail and hoping mine was going to arrive. And then it obviously just comes all prepackaged with all these steps and instructions that you'd want to know to get started. So if you are interested in that, again, I will shoot you some messages and you can respond and let me know. And I will also send you my $10 off as well. But with that, you should have kind of everything you need to know to get started once your products do arrive. So any questions?
Not really. I mean, I think for me, like, I've always been listening and watching what you're doing since I've had Hazel and gone through IVF and all of that. I think for me, it was more waiting until I was done breastfeeding. Like, I know there's a lot of like all natural things, and I've known people who have been on it through that, but it's just like a mental block that I have of like, I don't think I'm ready to put anything in my body. Like, I gave up caffeine and I gave up alcohol and did all those things through this whole process. So I thought like anything at all other than like fruits and vegetables and occasional Pepsi or Cheetos type thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have a ton of questions. More just I just need to do it because I feel like there's just a little bit of a block of that like energy and need to just like focus, and I call it mom brain, of just needing a little bit of something to help. Yeah. Whether it's whether it's just me telling myself that this is going to help and it's going to make a difference, or whether it really does. Like, it's both good things.
Well, and the cool thing about it, Mallory, too, is we have it's a 1 year, 100% money back guarantee. So if you order the products, I always tell like give it 90 days, give it for sure 90 days.
Yeah.
You're probably going to start to feel the noticeable differences. I mean, most people can feel this in the first 2 days that they'll be like, holy cow, usually I experience this and today I didn't. I mean, for a lot of people that like don't have regular poops, it's like, oh my God, like I didn't know that I'd be able to poop with this. This is incredible. Um, there's all sorts of like rainbows and sunshines. But if for some reason you were like, I just don't think this is for me, you can keep all your boxes and everything, and you'll literally just ship them back and you'll get a 100% money back guarantee. And that's up to a year. So you could use the products up to a year, and ship everything back, and get your money back. So it's kind of
Impressive.
like yeah, it's kind of like a no fail. Like the worst that could happen is you don't like it and you get your money back. The best thing that could happen is that you're like, oh my gosh, it turns out mom brain isn't a necessity of parenthood, right? Like you can kind of feel yourself again. And even just feeling more feminine, like that's kind of another piece of things, like in the relationship side of things. Like there's a lot of hormones that are impacted by neurotransmitters, outside of just the focus piece and the energy piece. But when you're thinking about mood impacts a few things outside of just
Yes.
happiness, right? So
Yep.
I always feel like that's a little fun side effect, when I'm having, small group conversations, and I'm like, I'm just gonna say there are some other areas that will be happily improved in this space too, if that's important to you.
Yeah, it's just the whole piece of like just that completely related to of like your hormones and everything just finally now adjusting, like no longer breastfeeding, my hair is finally growing back, and I'm ready to get back to me. I mean, I've been on hormones and IVF from since 2020, so I'm ready to feel like myself.
Yeah, and like, yeah, so carefully kind of watching everything, like you said, just being protective of your body and protective of your baby. And now it's like, okay, can kind of like play around a little bit and to experience how you want to feel a little bit without having to worry how it's impacting you. So
Mhm.
awesome. Well, I will send you that piece for kind of the pick your own adventure. Also, supply of energy, so you get like an awesome out the gate, as well. So that'll be fun, and I will talk with you. So if you want to build a happy juice pack,
Yeah.
let's touch base because I want to send you the opposite flavor of the flavor you're gonna try if you want.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
then you can try some different little mixes as well. So
Okay. That sounds great. Yeah. And I get a free cup, so let's
yeah,
do it.
and I know it's win-win-win all the way around. So
I feel like those are the kind of things. I don't know if it's because we're 90s kids, but like my mom was always that mom, like, oh, like I got my first cell phone when I was like in 8th grade because my mom was at the Grange in Colfax and there was a deal where you got 5 free DVDs or VHSs. It was VHSs. And she was like, so we got a cell phone because there was 5 free VHSs. And yeah.
this, you want to know what that immediately made me think of was, do you remember it was like a very distinct thought that popped into my head, but the color changing spoons that used to
Yes.
come in the cereal.
Yeah.
when, when you
Yeah.
said maybe it's because we're 90s kids, immediately I was like, yeah, gotta buy the cereal with the color changing spoon. Like I am here
Yeah.
for it.
My mom still has those. She pulled them out the other day. She's like, does Hazel want any of these? I'm like, I don't even want to know what's in the plastic of those, Mom. Like, especially with it like sitting there for the last 30 years. Like,
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
just leaching chemicals into the milk in the cereal bowl. It's fine.
Oh yeah. Ha.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying over this right now. Oh, that's too good. But yeah, perks don't help. Let's be honest. I'm a sucker for a good freebie too. So
Yes. Yes.
cool. All right. Well, I will pop into your inbox with some of your goodies. And yeah, once we decide what you want, we'll get the energy shipped to you as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So good to see you, ladies.
Yes. Thank you so much.
No
You say
problem.
bye-bye?
Bye, Hazel.
You blow her kiss? Mwah.
Bye.
You blow kisses?
That, oh, Best meeting of my day.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.